Hi my love, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Interested in seeing how this beautiful look was created? Just keep on watching and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. So the first thing to do is to clean the face before you engage yourself in any makeup, doing any makeup. The first thing is to clean the face to make sure every dirt is removed underneath the skin. You don't want to be building your makeup on dirt or bacteria, so you have to clean the face to remove every dirt. Then the next thing is to moisturize the face, to hydrate the face. We want that face to be well hydrated, right, in order for our makeup to last longer all day. So to do that, we need our moisturizer. For this look, I use my Moist Essence moisturizer. So to make the product, to further press the product into her skin, I use my hand to make sure the product get into her skin. So the next thing after moisturizing the face is to prime the face, which I use my V Beauty mattifying primer. So I just apply it around the area that produces oil. So I spread it all over the face except the under eye. Then I use my Kiss Beauty Fix Spray again to hydrate the face further. So the next thing after that is to apply the foundation, which I use my Adventure foundation, which matches her skin tone. Then after applying the foundation, use your beauty sponge. So I use my CPD beauty sponge, which is very soft, and I make it to be damp by making it wet. So after that, I just push the product gently into her skin and spread it all over, and making sure everything is uniformly distributed. So you just push gently into the skin, blend everything and make sure everything is in place. So the next thing after foundation application is to contour the face, which we are using the foundation or the concealer, which is 2 shades darker than the skin. So we apply the contour underneath the cheekbone and the temple, including the side of the nose. Can you see at this point I was applying it around the temple. Then I place my beauty sponge in a way which when I'm blending, it's just taking care of the line separating the 2 points such that there will be no demarcation. So when blending our contour, we are blending moving towards the direction of the temple. We are blending upward, moving towards the direction of the temple. So for blush, I'm using this orange shade from KB. That's my lip stain. You could use a lip stain or your blush from your blush palette. Yeah. So I'm using my lip stain from KB. So I just apply it around the cheek. So after applying it, I still use the same side of the beauty sponge which I use in blending my foundation and my contour. So for concealer, we want the face to be highlighted. The highlighted areas are the under eye, the bridge of the nose, the forehead, the chin. So I'm using my lighter shade of concealer, which is the Adventure concealer. So I just apply it around the areas I just mentioned. So after applying it, I'm still going to use my Kiss Beauty Fix Spray to just spray around that area such that it will be very easy for me to blend, because as you can see, my concealer was already drying up very fast. So while blending, like I always laid emphasis on, when we are done blending the main point, we place our beauty sponge on the line separating the concealer and the blush. We blend around that area such that there will be no demarcation. So I'll just use my excess concealer on my beauty sponge, just blend around the mandible. So when I'm blending the concealer on the forehead, after blending, I'm going to use a clean section of my beauty sponge, put the middle of the clean section of my beauty sponge on the line separating the contour and the concealer around the forehead. So I just blend around that area such that there will be no demarcation. So to contour the nose, I'm using my foundation, which is one shade darker than her skin tone. The one I use to contouring the rest of the section of the face is 2 shades darker. That of the nose is 1 shade darker because we don't want that area to be too dark. So the next thing after that is to set the face, which I use my Miracle setting powder. We are setting the highlighted area. I use my Miracle setting powder in the shade Ginger to set the highlighted area. So I'm using my same beauty sponge which I use in blending the highlighter. So to highlight further again, I'm still going to go in with my powder from my V Beauty powder palette, which is equivalent to the shade to my setting powder, to just highlight further around the under eye, because I want that area to be really highlighted. So after highlighting, after further setting that area, to set the rest of the face, I'm using my powder still from my powder palette, which is exactly like her skin tone. So I'm just applying it around the area which has not been highlighted. So we're just setting all the blank spaces. Yeah, that's the simple way, the blank spaces. So make sure we distribute the powder all over. Then at this point, I was using my small fluffy brush to just apply around the temple. So after setting the rest of the face, the next thing is to contour. Remember, like I always say, for makeup, everything we use wet, we have to use dry. So for contour, I'm still going in again with my powder from my powder palette, which is exactly like the shade we use for contouring. To just contour again around the area we previously contoured. That is the under of the cheekbone, the side of her nose, and the forehead. You can even go as far as contouring the mandible. So after thorough blending, the next thing is to melt down that powder effect, which I'm using my fix spray, which is a Kiss Beauty fix spray, to just melt down the powder effect. Then I went into baking, which I use my Mirac setting powder again in the shade Ginger. So while baking, I just left a generous quantity of the setting powder under her eye such that every moisture can be absorbed, and in order for the excess eyeshadow fallout to be easily taken out. Moving on to brows, I'll begin by laying down the hair, putting the hair in place by using my brows gel from Nikki Signature and my brush to make sure all those stubborn hanging hairs are lying down very flat. Then I'll use my setting powder again to make sure the moisture or oil is absorbed, after which I'm going to use my fluffy brush to dust up the excess or pressing the excess setting powder. Moving on, the next thing is to outline the brows. So to do that, we need our brows gel from KR. You could use any brows gel of your choice, and we need an angle brush. I'm using the Isa and Dose angle brush. So I'll start producing my outline beginning from the bottom. When I'm getting towards the end, you know the routine, right? When I'm getting towards the end, I just tilt downwards. So guys, after outlining my brows, I'm just going to use my excess brows gel on my angle brush to produce hair-like strokes. So I'll start filling in the brows by producing hair-like stroke using my brows gel and my angle brush before going in with my pencil, my Davis pencil. Next, after producing the strokes using my angle brush, I now start filling in the blank spaces. When I insist the blank spaces, the area with less hair, using my well sharpened and pointed Davis pencil in the shade 018. So I just produce hair-like strokes around the area with less hair. I did that for both sides of the brows before moving on to concealing. So to conceal the brows, I'm starting with my foundation, which is one shade darker than her skin, which I begin start from the beginning with it, and then I continue with my concealer. That's my spotless concealer, which is um, one shade lighter than her skin. So I'm using my flat angle brush and my flat brush from Issa and Dose. So after concealing the bottom, I just use my fluffy brush to blend in the concealer and the foundation. So I'm using that darker shade for the beginning because I want it to look natural. I said one shade darker, not two shade darker than her skin. So to conceal the upper section, since I don't want any harsh line, I'm still using my flat brush from Issa and Dose makeup. Then I use the same shade of foundation which I used to conceal the beginning of the brows, because I want that area to look natural. So after concealing it, I'm using my fluffy angle brush to blend in the excess concealer. Then I'll just go in with my powder and apply my powder around that area. So look at the shade from your powder palette. I use exactly the same shade for the beginning and the rest of the section. What am I saying? Meaning you are using a darker shade, which is one shade darker for the beginning, and you use two shades darker for the rest of the sections. So for eyeshadow, I started by placing my eyeshadow base, which is my Adventure concealer, after which I blended everything thoroughly. So I did that off camera. Then I went in with this brown shade from my Blossom makeup eyeshadow palette. So I don't use this eyeshadow palette often because it really breaks. Like, I don't know, Blossom Cosmetics really needs to work on this eyeshadow palette. So after applying that, I still go in again with I first of all started with the light brown shade. Then I went in with a dark brown shade, just blend from the inner corner to the outer corner. So the space in the middle, which is around the eyeball, the space, I just use this is this forest green shade. I just apply it around it, just blend everything. Then went in again with this other shade, which is like a pigment. It's still like forest green. So I just use my fluffy brush to apply it. This is actually my first time using this particular shade. It actually turned out to be nice. So just use your fluffy brush, just apply it around the eyeballs. So we are not spreading it all over, right? So after that, I went in again with on still on the eyeballs with another purple shade. But looking at it, I just felt like that purple was not necessary. The forest green could have just been okay. So when I was done with the eyeshadow, I use this fluffy brush, I don't know how to call this one, to dust off the excess eyeshadow fallout before going in with lining of the eyelid, which I use my angle brush again and my black brows pomade from KR Makeup. So to line the waterline, I just use my powder puff to pull her eyes downward, right? I just use the powder puff to pull the eyes downward. That's the under eye downward. Then I use my angle brush to just apply the brows gel directly on the waterline. Then I try to link the 2 point, like the upper and the lower, making sure they are linked so that they look beautiful. Then I use my small fluffy brush to just smoke out the the outline. So moving on, for blush, I use my orange shade for my exclusive blush palette. So I just apply it around the apple of my cheek, blend a little, moving towards the temple. I did that for both sides. Then I went in into blending, pressing in the setting powder which I kept around the under eye. I'm not dusting up. So after dusting up, the eyeshadow fallout, we are now pressing in the setting powder. So this mirror setting powder sinks into the skin so well. You don't really need to like press too much. Before you are done with the work, the setting powder already sinks into her skin. So after pressing in the setting powder, I'm using my fluffy brush again to blend around the under of the cheekbone. So after thorough blending, I made down the powder effect using my Kiss Beauty Fix Spray. Then I move on to my lips, which I began by outlining again. So I just try to produce something like a V around the upper lips. So after producing the outline of the lips, I use my fluffy brush of the upper lips. I use my fluffy brush to blend in everything, blend the line, because we don't want to leave it like that. We don't want any harsh line. We have to blend it such that the main color will just sink into it and it will look beautiful. So guys, to seal and lock the makeup after everything, I'm using my So Pro Seal It Spray. So I just asked her to hold her breath for some time. Then I applied the spray. So this is the finished look, guys. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye guys.